Right, okay, this is the Sisyphus complex solution, and this is the part that I have to keep particularly brief because this is the little video that will start when anybody comes to the channel, and it'll be an introduction as to what the channel is all about. So you'll be able to tell from some of the videos that are already below. I do tend to go on for quite a while, so I'll try to keep this as short as possible as an intro. So what the Sisyphus complex solution is all about is it's recreating the John Hoskins government wiring map. That was something that was developed from 1977 by, obviously, John Hoskins from the Centre for Political Studies. And yes, by the way, if anybody that doesn't like anybody smoking on video, you won't like this, because I smoke and I drink as I'm doing the stuff. Get over it. I'm putting together a process in order to be able to recreate this in a modern context, whereas obviously you can see the way that he's put things together there, and it's the cause and effect, what particular departments within government are required. This was something that was put together and that was picked up by Margaret Thatcher, that she started to implement in the UK from 1979. It is, for some people, it'll be contentious in terms of the fact that it was used by Margaret Thatcher, but forget about that. That's not the important part. The important part is that somebody had actually put together a process plan in order to be able to understand how government works. So we're literally recreating that in, like I say, with a modern process and that, and doing things in quite a detailed fashion. The process that I'll be running, and that I am running at the moment, and that starts off with what government actually looks like and developing policy suggestions, which is all open to feedback from anybody that watches the videos. So when I say what government looks like, I'm talking about going through what there are at the moment as 603 different government offices and departments. This is national government level, councils, local governments, and things like that. That'll be for another day. This is part of the national process, because we need to understand the various problems, the issues that we have within government at the moment, whether that be to do with the creeping, essentially the creeping socialism and stuff like that that's taking place, whether you have all these lunatic agendas like the Great Reset and what have you, the crony capitalism, all this sort of stuff, and that, where we can actually identify what the problems are, rather than having a few people that are running around the streets shouting various pieces of rhetoric that they know nothing about. We actually identify what we've got, what needs to be adjusted, how it needs to be adjusted, and we can start to develop a real picture and putting it into the kind of process plan that can replicate the John Hoskins wiring map. I'll be taking things a little bit further than that, because then I want to look into what the economy actually looks like, taking that back to its bare basics, understanding what the core principles are, and then being able to develop a model out from that initial structure. So what all these things will eventually end up looking like, you're going to have to watch, aren't you? And it will go on for a long time, I can assure you, because like I said, 603 departments. I think I've only gone through about 50 so far. Then we move into the macro picture, which is what we want to do in terms of being able to do trade with other nations. All of these different processes can be looked at and investigated and replicated, irrespective of which nation you're in. So as much as I'm using the UK as my base model, you can use the processes themselves to be able to duplicate that in your own system, come up with your own ideas, do whatever. Then we look towards put the whole thing together into one cohesive plan, which is laid out in much more standard project management fashion as it is these days. So rather than just being a very base map, though he did behind that have something called stepping stones. So there will be some process around that, some detailed explanation around that. That would effectively end up being something more along the lines of a manifesto. So we end up creating a picture of what kind of government country we actually want to see being achieved, where we can weed out the problems, we can cut out the crony capitalism, we can cut out all of the issues and problems with transparency, things of this nature. Put all that together. If anybody understands project management processes, you'll know that it will end up being something that we call a living document. So there'll be updates, there'll be the lessons learned, actual lessons learned, rather than somebody saying it and never actually doing it. Then we can put that together as a decent plan for how the country is to be run, and just get the fuck on with it and stop whining about things. So the key point here, and that is to be able to put together a proper, well thought out, educated plan based on epistemology, not postmodernist rubbish, and we can actually understand what it is that we need to be doing in the future. There is a second segment within the programme that I do, which is based on the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, both of which I have particular dislike for because of, in case of World Economic Forum, if anybody's not familiar with it, you've got the Great Reset, look it up. United Nations, you've got Agenda 2030. Both of these amalgamated. Look that one up as well if you want, if you don't understand it. And the FO stands for, you can imagine. And there's a little bit of an anime to the introduction that I do if you watch the regular programme. Not until something like around about episode 6 though, because if you watch from episode 1 you'll find out that I'm actually really getting to grips with a lot of this sort of stuff. So, but you know, things are getting a little bit better. So I'll be what I'm doing with those two organisations at the moment is, in terms of the United Nations, I'm giving indications as to the types of people that are at the heads of all the various different departments. Later on, I will do a fairly similar thing to the main Sisyphus complex solution. I will actually sort of give a breakdown and a core understanding as to what each one of these departments do, or these offices do, the tentacles of the United Nations. And at the moment, I'm also running through the membership of the World Economic Forum. So one by one, each member, I'll say exactly who they are, and I'll be pinpointing exactly why you don't want to be listening to them. So, quick drag effect. It is a comprehensive, very wide scope of an undertaking. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not a simplistic solution. There's no rhetoric around this. It is a difficult process because this is about developing something that would be able to run a country. So there you go. That's a brief explanation. And if you have any questions at any point in that, have a look at one of the episodes. Feel free. And then there's information where you can make your comments. Spaces where you can make your comments, and that there are the later episodes, and that there is actually a direct email contact address. You can get in contact, sort out anything that you want to have any input, and we'll take it from there. So hopefully we'll do the usual stuff, and that's, I mean, I forgot to put in the slide here and that, but the usual sort of like, share, subscribe, all that nonsense. Knock yourselves out. There's plenty to watch. All right. Thank you. Bye.